Welcome. My name is Jen Mallett. I am the founder of a company called Level Up Automation. We are CEDIA members, which stands for Custom Electronics Installation and Design Association. And as part of our mission to help bring knowledge and understanding around technology to the design build and architect community, as well as clients, we host the CEU topic once a month. This month we have balancing technology and design. And if you are with the trades and you have an architect license or a builder license or interior design license, I will follow up with you post course and make sure you get those year-end CEU credits in. So balancing technology and design is our sixth course that we have presented. Feel free to ask questions in the chat along the way, as well as introduce yourself. This is meant to be an interactive session, should you have it. So who is CEDIA? I mentioned this earlier. CEDIA is a nonprofit trade organization that really represents 3,700 members across the globe that specialize in integration of technology. And we'll talk a little bit about what that means, and what that covers, and how we work and how we support people really with sophisticated and easy to use technologies that are enjoyed in the home. A little bit about me. My name is Jen Mallett. As I said earlier, I'm the CEO and founder of Level Up Automation. I've been in the home technology industry for over 20 years now, which seems crazy, but it was over 20 years. And our company operates in 8 different markets in the US. So we have specialty integrators that have their own businesses in these markets and are able to support people with the design, installation, and service of these projects. Fun fact about me, my family has 4 cats, and they're all named after a food item: Caesar, mochi, pudding, and pumpkin. So I love dogs too, but I like to share little fun facts. This course is IDCEC accredited, and CEDIA worked with the IDCEC to be able to deliver content and pick topics that are relevant to you as you do your work. And it really does help you kind of keep up to speed with really an industry that is quickly moving in the technology space. So a little bit about what we're going to cover today. Many products out there are labeled as smart, and it seems to be the buzzword of the last 3 or 4 years. And the definition of what makes something smart really varies depending upon who you speak with. In our industry, in the integration industry, we really look at products that are smart. They need to be very well designed. They need to work consistently, and they need to meet the end user's goal always. And that really is what we're looking to do. And you only do that through proper planning and design. And we'll run through a few projects as part of this presentation, which fellow member CEDIA organizations and member companies put together that have won awards. So they're not our projects in here, but they're some of the best in the world. So looking forward to sharing those with you so that you can see the end result of really great design for technology. So we're going to cover that today, and our objectives really are to understand what the types of systems integrators help with. It oftentimes can be hard to talk about what we do because it is so expansive. So we're going to cover what that is so that you understand when to work with an integrator and why. We're going to define how it can benefit the homeowner, the planning process and the design process, just like having an architect, a great interior designer, a great builder, a great remodeler. You're going to want a great design technology professional to help support that team so that you can really enjoy your home and the project can be as well designed as it is from a structure perspective as it is from a technology enjoyment perspective. We're going to talk about how to properly identify the process around specifying, and lastly, learn how to find a reputable technology integrator to work with. 3,400 member companies across the globe. If most of you are in the United States right now, there's quality integrators all over the place, and Cedia has a great finder tool they just launched recently, should you need. So systems and technology, there's been a tremendous amount of growth in the last 8 years. It actually, as an industry, smart homes have doubled since 2016. And the reason is that a lot of these new products are coming into the marketplace. It used to be that systems that were automated were just luxury products. And with the entrance of a lot of different brands into the marketplace, you can walk into a Best Buy or some other electronics store, for example, even Home Depot, and see a whole bunch of smart home products there, right? So there have been a lot of advancements in terms of the cost structure and interoperability of these products, but that's both a good thing, but it's also has created some challenges within how people are experiencing it and whether or not the promise of a smart home is truly being delivered. And we'll talk through kind of what those are in a minute. So what are these systems that can be automated and integrated together? There are 12 of them. And this is the part where it's like, wow, this is a very expansive trade in many ways and support structure. So integrators support design of audio distribution throughout homes. Where is it most important for that homeowner to enjoy great sound? What does that sound look like? Or in some cases, what does it not look like? We have a number of products that are actually invisible speakers, for example. So what does it look like? Shape, form factor, what does it not look like? What does it sound like? Where is it present? What are the sources that are connected to it? Audio distribution planning is really, really important as part of the design process, making sure that it works within those goals we talked about, but also that it's balanced within the existing electrical work and light can fixtures and other things that are happening so that everything is symmetrical. Just an example. Video distribution. We've all been in a place where content is streaming all over the places through all sorts of different apps and functions. We've taken cable, what was traditional cable, right? And we've got all these different streaming services now. You can distribute video from a central location, have all the screens on your house play the same thing. You can have different things play in different rooms. You can have one screen with multiple images and tiling on it. So there are a lot of things to kind of think about when you think about video distribution and what the homeowner wants. Some clients don't care about televisions, right? It's not, an important factor or something that they use in their life. Others want screens in every room, and several of them, because they might not want to miss a game or whatever the need may be. So understanding and designing around what is going to be the correct video distribution solution for the client is important. Lighting control, and automated lighting in particular has been growing tremendously over the last 3 years. Similar path to generally smart homes. Last year, lighting control in many markets grew at 30% year over year. And I think that most people will see this really as one of the categories that is easiest for people to understand around automation. Lighting control takes like all those loads within your house and outside of your house, right? And creates through sophisticated design and thought process experiences within that particular room. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that means. And if you think of rooms like kitchens or outdoors, family rooms, depending upon the time of day, how the light is designed and is operating is a very big part of how humans experience that space. And lighting control within the design and plan process, working with architects and interior designers and the client, one of the best things a system integrator can support as part of the design process. Home theater. We've been seeing a huge comeback in home theater since the pandemic. This is a great category. There are dedicated home theaters where it is one room in the house that is exclusively used for movies and games and content development, and acoustically designed, typically around where people are going to sit. There might be home theater seats, things like that, a dedicated home theater. But there's also family rooms that really can be designed to be multifunctional. They can be and act as the place where families watch movies. Not everybody within the design of a home is going to have a dedicated home theater space, right? But most people who enjoy entertainment and content within a home will want to be able to sit on their couch with their family and have a movie night and have really great video and sound and lighting experience around that. So that is something that, as part of the design process, really important to design around. Media centers. This is really around, what is the content coming in, and how is it distributed? Audio automated window treatments, the sixth of the 12, is really about how the light is filtered within your home and how does that work automatically. Most people at night would like their shades down for privacy, right? Most people in the morning would want their shades up in their kitchen as they're making coffee so they can start to wake up. Automated window treatments, whether it be a roller shade, a drape, really can, within the design of a project, support that experience. The biggest light source in the world is the sun, right? So if we're talking about lighting control and lighting design around the experience, we have to look at automated shades and really kind of working with the design of the sun. That is a big part of really the design experience. And the last six are here. Security. This means things like smart locks, gate controls, security sensors on windows and doors, other sensors that help support events that you want to manage, like water. If you have a flood in a certain part of the house, you want to be notified through your automation system, right? So all of that happens through great design. Security cameras as well, right? Being able to kind of see that property, whether it be a video doorbell or other cameras that are around the perimeter of the home, to keep your eyes on it. Phone systems. Not everyone is working off a cell phone. Some people have landlines. So there's that, and integrators can help support that as part of the project. Where we see phone systems heading in the integrator world really is around the network, which is a really key part of our system design. So even though most phones are not landlocked anymore and they're cell-based, right, through smartphones, our system design is really important part of the process because Wi-Fi calling is enabled through a really great internet network design within that home. And we find in certain parts of the world and certain parts of a home or a property, there are places where you may have gaps in cell coverage where your Wi-Fi can pick up and make sure you've got continuous amount of connectivity for your phone. So even though the phone systems are changing, still a very important thing to consider and design. Gaming has become incredibly popular. There's a lot of really exciting things around immersive gaming and how lights and internet connectivity support the gaming that's happening. Pool and spa control. If a property is going to have water features, and I would add to this pool, spa, fountains, anything that is a water feature, the ability to be able to monitor that feature within the home, control it through a central source and not a separate app, is really something that happens as part of the design process. Landscape control, outdoor lighting is a really big popular area where it can be integrated within your system. And then there's a variety of other home automation systems that can kind of pop up as part of that. that you really consider, and through a really good design and needs assessment, that becomes kind of possible as part of that design. So we'll get right into what all this kind of means. So there's all these different categories of systems that can be designed, right? And what we found in the last few years in particular, as the industry has exploded and more people have got these devices within their home, is that it ends up where we have a lot of different components and interfaces in place. And through really great design and really being early in the design process, we can get to a place where we've got one control instance. And it's really important to start early in order to be able to kind of reach that goal. But people control things through their smartphones. They control things through their computers. They control things through tablets. And then they also control things through things like remotes and touch screens and light switches, right? So our role as system integrators to support the design community really is around taking all of these disparate things that you can control a smart home with and understand what is the use case for the different people that are in the house. Are they people that are going to want to primarily control through a smartphone? Are they a family that likes voice and is going to want to be able to speak to their house? Are they more remote people? And all of that really happens through a good needs assessment and speaking with a client and asking the right questions to understand, okay, this is going to be the technology method that is going to be right for the client. So this may or may not look familiar to a number of you. We're definitely, we have all of these goals as a society, right? We're bringing all this technology to market. But what we see oftentimes without really great planning is you can end up with a variety of things. And we call this wall acne. And really what it means is that if we look at this particular slide, right, we've got temperature control here through the smart thermostat. We've got a smart lighting load with the switch that's there. And then we've got what looks like an older kind of control system where AV volume is controlled, some shades and other things, right? So there's 3 different interfaces for the client here. And through proper design, all of these devices really can be represented in one sophisticated interface through that planning. And on the other side, and this is where we find a lot of people are at if they haven't had design integration process as part of bringing in their home to really kind of smart home levels, is people end up with several different apps on their phone. So there, we now have app acne and a lot of different disparate apps to control your home. So this does a lot of good things in that it helps educate people that yes, you can manage your security remotely. You can manage your shades remotely. You can manage your audio remotely, right? But at the end of the day, the design goal is to provide simplicity and sophistication and great easy use for the client. We really do that through one interface. And so that's why the design process is really so critical, so that we can avoid app acne and wall acne. So this is really an example of an alternative. This happens to be one brand, but there's several different brands that are validated in the market that are able to integrate with a variety of different systems. And, you know, it can take everything and pull it into one interface here. So you can see here, there's media control, there's lights control, there's climate control, security control right on this panel. And that's just kind of scratching the surface on what you can do. That same interface can be controlled through voice. It also can be controlled through a smartphone. It also can be controlled through really scheduling what a person typically experiences within their home. A really great example of this is oftentimes when we're designing window treatments, automated window treatments for people, and we're incorporating it as part of a lighting design control system. we almost always set those shades to rise during sunrise and lower during sunset. Because chances are they're going to be manually doing that every day. So truly a smart home really should work for you. So identifying lighting changes and shade changes, and maybe it's water feature changes, maybe the fountain comes on at a certain hour of the day, identifying what are those regular patterns that happen for that client every day and make it completely turnkey. That is truly a smart home. So individual control here to be able to provide the owner the ability to change the temperature and such, but really the best case scenario within the design is to really understand how is a person going to live there, and then how do you schedule the common activities around that so they don't even have to do anything. So the real keys are within designing technology and balancing it within the design of a home. Advanced planning. You cannot really start early enough. And one of the reasons is, if you looked at the earlier slide, we went through those 12 systems. Technology design is really comprehensive, and it touches a lot of things in the home. A good example here, if the client is working with a builder on let's say selecting countertops, for example, there's a certain amount of countertops that are out there, right? Different materials, finishes, edging, things to think about, sizes. But it's one kind of category, right? It doesn't have 12 separate things that you're looking and making decisions around. So if you look at a lot of the scoping that happens within a home, those are the things that people are really starting to look at early, right? Whereas for audio, video, technology, networks, typically where we see there's a shortcoming in the design process is people just don't think about that stuff early enough. So a great guideline is, if you have an early draft of an architectural plan, that's the time. That is the perfect time to start, because that's the time to work with drawings and be able to identify zones of audio, video, where the central location is going to be for the network and how that's going to be distributed with access points across the property. Architectural plans are the place to start. As soon as you have those, it's great. And if there are changes to rooms and how things are structured, that's okay. But getting the conversation early is really, really key. The design philosophy we've touched upon a little bit here, which is really understanding, how do people want to live in their house and how do they want to experience it? And then how do those systems that we talked about earlier, how can those be designed and adjusted and customized to that group of people so that they maximize enjoyment of their house? Because at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. We don't necessarily want to put a bunch of technology in a house just to have technology in a house. It needs to really work like a symphony with the people that are living within the house. And that really happens through learning as much as you can about the people that are going to be living in it, what's important to them, how they spend their time, how they relax, how they entertain, how they work. And a lot of that is very similar to how an interior designer approaches their work, an architect approaches their work, really specific need selection. Once we understand the property with the planning, architectural plans, we learn, we ask questions around who's going to be living in the home, how they want to experience it. Then we can start to say within the integrator community, what are going to be the best products that are going to service that design and service the client. So oftentimes what'll happen is, within the process, somebody might see a product, or they know that they want, let's say they know they want a 100-inch TV in a room within their house. They need to have it. Maybe they also have the product picked out. They want this thing. And that's a great thing. Knowing what you want is awesome, because there's a lot of different products out there. But really, within the context of great design and balancing technology and design, when we have somebody come with that sort of request with the product selection, we always look to kind of connect with the interior designer, the architect, go back to the advanced planning stage to really understand, okay, this is a component and a product within the design. How does it fit within the whole ecosystem that you're designing around? This is a great example. This is a CEDIA awarded project. CEDIA runs awards annually for integrators who just provide really outstanding best-in-class work. And this particular integration was a company named Cantera. And what is nice to point out here is if you could think about this particular space and think about if they hadn't thought about their lighting design, what this particular space would look like. It would look really different, right? So they have taken the time through proper design and part of the construction process too. The steps, for example, the ability to be able to light the steps underneath like that and provide that really nice kind of warm color tone. That happens through really great design planning, right? So there's coordination that needs to happen with a general contractor. If there's a mason person on it, the masonry work, understanding how that's going to happen with the timing of the steps, where it's wired back to. So working with, maybe it's an electrician that's part of that project, making sure that it's centrally located within the other electrical loads. And then on top of it all, understanding, okay, how can we have this lighting reflect the space in a way that really complements what time of day it is, maybe also the weather or what's happening within this outside space. So there's a few things here. There's uplighting that's happening with this beautiful plants that are part of this landscape. There's the lighting that's happening under these stairs. There's also some additional lighting that is happening in this enclosed space, probably some audio in there as well, if that's something that the client liked. But this is all kind of like the end result of great design. This is another one. This is also from Cantera, and it's just like a stunning view. I think you'd agree, of how you can take an outdoor space and make it absolutely stunning. So this particular client, they have inside and out being experienced in this one view, which is very unique when you think about balancing technology and design, and how design really can be supported by great technology. And I'll point out a couple of examples. If you can think about this pool not being lit, this space would look totally different, right? So that's an intentional design, and there may or may not be color as part of this project, for example. If you look through the windows, you can see that the artwork, which is important for this client, is lit. And it's lit in a way that complements the actual artwork itself. And then when you look at other systems that are in here, in the top of the screen, you can see in this photo, there's actually a heater, right? So that's an example of something, if you're not thought about how the person is going to live and experience outdoors, there might be a heater in there, right? Maybe that is scoped and spec'd as part of the project, but it's not necessarily going to be automated as part of like an experience and a control system, right? So for example, you can design this so that maybe when the temperature gets below 55, the heater automatically kicks on, right? Because it's connected to a control system that is also connected to a smart thermostat that's also connected to the internet that understands what the temperature is outside, right? So that's a great example of, if you use an experience where this client didn't have a design experience around technology integration, they might go outside and they've got this beautiful lighting, and they're sitting out enjoying it, and they're a little breezy, maybe it's a little breezy or cold, and they need to go to their phone or to maybe go to a switch to turn on the heater to warm up, right? A smart home and an integrated home with really great design would anticipate that based on the temperature and do it already. And that's really when you get to a place where you've got really smart design and a home that is working for you, not you needing to work on it and to control the technology. So kudos to Cantera. This is a beautiful shot and beautiful work. A lot of coordination here happening with the builder, pool people, pool and spa people, definitely through lighting design here, and all that happens through really that design process. And here is another view. This is more of an indoor place. Most people have kitchens now that may or may not be part of a living room or a sitting area and a bar. This is a multifunctional room. And this is, I think, a really great example, because what is showing you here is these clients have a space where it is multimodal. They have a bar, they have a seating area, and they have a kitchen. And you can tell that their design aesthetic is quite minimal. If you look at the cabinetry they've chosen, and other items within here, it is not very grandiose. It's gorgeous, but it's very simple lines. And so a good example around the technology design that this integrator took on is, you can see in the ceiling, we'll point that one out first, they went with square lighting fixtures, smaller lighting fixtures, which really support that minimalist aesthetic that they are looking to achieve with their cabinetry and other parts of their design. And if you can look over and see the other items, which are a bit larger, the design, the technology design around this room paired that smaller lighting, square lighting, with square speaker grills. And, that does a couple things. It helps create consistency within the balance of the room. It provides really great distributed sound, regardless of where the person is, and or if there are multiple people in the space enjoying the space. So you can see that there's a pair of speakers, those square speakers, in the kitchen. And then there's a couple in the bar area. And if we were to have the other view of this particular photo, I'm sure you'd see a couple of matching speakers on the other side of this couch. And so, for this is going to provide really great, even sound. I think we've all been at a party in our life where we're trying to interact with somebody next to us, but we're standing underneath a speaker or a tabletop speaker somewhere, and we just cannot hear the person, because the sound of the music, while enjoyable, is really kind of overtaking the entertainment and connection of the people within it. So sound design and speaker design really is something that is often within the design process. You could kind of pop speakers in, but if you really think about how people are going to want to live in the space and entertain in the space, making sure that those speakers are in the right spots, making sure it's the right selection of speaker, is really critical so that people can enjoy this space. In many ways, you could think, like, if they were to have gone through this whole design process, this beautiful kitchen, this bar, all of this cool, couch and other things they put in here, if they didn't really have a good sound design, the space isn't nearly as great, because if people can't enjoy it, what's kind of the point, right? If they have to talk loud over each other. So this sound design here provides really even, great quality sound. You can play at a low level with high fidelity results, so it sounds beautiful, but it's not going to overtake how people use the space. So really, really great design work here. And this happens through working with the architectural plans, working with the client, understanding how they want to live in their space, what's important to them, and then appropriately putting the right technology early on within that architectural plan so that it's budgeted for and it's not an afterthought. All right. Here is an outdoor bar area, which also is it's indoor outdoor. And what you can see here is there's design around under cabinet lighting, overhead lighting for this bar. There's a television here. There's speakers in the ceiling. And so when you look at this within this space, part of the design process and understanding how they want to enjoy this space, you got to think about, okay, there's going to be a television behind the bar, right? So if that were thought of too late in the process, like let's say, you know, the walls are already up and the wires are on, they're like, you know what, we're going to put a TV behind that bar. That is then a huge lift and may not be possible. And why it's important to have design really early on. You need to have power located behind that television in order to turn it on. You may also need to, based upon the client and what they watch, you may need to run networking cable or have some sort of other media device behind there so that they can have a great picture and be able to enjoy their entertainment without having lagging during their streaming, right? So that's an important part of the design, is understanding what sort of outlets and power is going to be needed, what sort of wires are going to be needed there. So if we were to take these walls down completely and just be able to see through the ceiling and the walls, you'd see speaker wires to each of those in-ceiling speaker locations. You'd see running to a central location where they're amplified. There also is wire that needs to be in place as part of the under cabinet lighting. Typically that's kind of LED power that is run there so that they can have control over the temperature of that light, the color of that light, how dim it is, how bright it is. For the TV, we mentioned really making sure that, you know, that TV is going to be able to perform how it should based on what sort of content is pulling in there and whether or not they're using local cable, or nowadays most people are streaming items through a smart TV. The bathroom is a place that is often overlooked, but it is one of the most growing areas where people are really paying attention on design and technology. And partly because it's a place where people relax. It's a room that everyone uses every day. And so it really does have a great amount of importance. So the type of products that you want to plan for as part of that process as integrators, when we're there, we're looking at, you know, what might be a smart shower. So showers that, you know, are able to control temperature, able to control the water flow. And in many cases, people love to listen to music in their shower. So that needs to happen within the technology design process early on, so that you're wiring correctly, so that that smart shower can have a Cat6, which is a networking cable, to it, so it could be updated, because now your shower needs to be updated, which was never a thing 20 years ago. You also need to think about, okay, in this space, if there's sound, and they're going to want to listen to music while they relax in their tub, guess what? You're going to want a properly rated speaker that lives in this room that is able to really weather humidity and steam and things like that. So that's a really important part of the design process, is saying, okay, will there be music in the bathroom? And if so, that is part of the design and wiring to make sure that that infrastructure is there. I'll also mention lighting is within a bathroom and kitchens typically very, very important. And the lighting technology we have nowadays can actually follow your natural human circadian rhythm, meaning that in the morning, it will start to match what sunrise is. Midday, it'll be a cooler temperature and it'll help you with productivity. And then towards the end of the day, your internal lighting will mirror sunset. And all of that happens naturally and helps support natural biorhythms. So there's a lot of movement within automated lighting control and the systems work we do to design around that because there's a lot of evidence that show that it helps with a variety of different health benefits. And also, if you're trying to relax, there's nothing worse than sitting in a room with a bunch of like really bright blue lights, right? It's not relaxing, and it's not supposed to be relaxing. Blue light is supposed to help you with productivity, but not with winding down. Here's another example of a beautiful room that, essentially when you look within these mirrors, you'll see that there are televisions within the mirror. And that is absolutely possible with early design, understanding how they use the space, and then determining, okay, what size screen will that particular client want? These mirrors are custom made. And the size of the screen behind them are custom made. You can even put, beyond just screens behind mirrors, you can put clocks, other things like digital clocks that are there. So there's a variety of different things you can do within rooms like this as part of that design process. And of course, when you have television screens that are built into mirrors, there's custom pieces that are a part of it. And as part of the pre-wire process when building a house, you need to make sure that, much like the television we saw in the bar area, you're going to want to run some cabling there so that the actual picture that comes through and the content that's coming in is uninterrupted and smooth and operating as it should. This is that bar again. This is kind of the game room. So this shows you that within that space, not only are you creating an experience within a bar for the technology, but you're also thinking about the areas that extend beyond it. So for example, here, the placement of the TV is really important because the people playing with a foosball here can also view the television. Right? If the television was placed behind one of these columns, maybe where the other portion of the bar is, then you lose viewing area when you're in the gaming room. So this doesn't happen by accident. So I love this example because it shows that this is intentional. The placement of the television, there's a variety of different places you could put it. It's intentionally put here so that it can be enjoyed in multiple areas within this space. So hopefully by now, why you use a home technology professional is obvious because it really, these best-in-class examples from integrators in different parts of the world, it doesn't happen by accident. It really happens through the design process and balancing technology and design. And we start, like many in the design build community, we start with a design brief and understanding, what are the goals of the project? What is the scope of work? Making sure we document it, we revise it as it changes, and understanding from there, what are our deliverables going to be? And the scope within all those 12 systems, not all those 12 systems are going to be important to all clients. Some are going to be more important than others, right? We talked earlier that, some people don't care about televisions. And other people need it everywhere, right? So depending upon what's important for that client, different portions of those 12 systems we identified earlier are going to be prioritized, and their budgets are going to be prioritized aligned with what's important to them, much like in kind of the other design process. So within the what of what we're doing when we are looking at spaces, we really do try to look at the 10,000-foot view, connect with clients, understand the lighting, the network, the sound, the screens, the security, other items within the actual process, what's going to be important to support. And it's a lot, but it's essentially, we believe early on, one of the more important things you can do, because what happens if we don't go through this design process early on is somebody, maybe 2-3 years into their house, they see somebody's got great lighting or an outdoor television that they want. And if they had not thought about how they want to live in that house, not only when they move in, but also 3 to 5 years from then the work to take that, to get it done is a very heavy lift. And also in some cases, it might not be possible. There's a lot that's possible, but in some cases, people are boxed out of having audio in a particular room that they realize is important to them because they didn't pre-wire it as part of the build process, right? And they've got to notch out, it's a huge drywall effort to get some really nice, aesthetically pleasing and ceiling speakers in there. That's just an example. So that's kind of the what. And when we look at architectural plans, very kind of standard. So we have our own set of icons that the integrator community uses within the context of this example here, which is from a company called the Premier Group. You can see that the thing that probably most sticks out to you is these kind of rays of red or pinkish color here on the screen. And those are camera locations. And what that breadth does essentially shows the client where the viewing area is going to be for the security cameras. And this is a really, really important part of the planning process because we need to do two things, actually three things when we're looking at security design within our technology design. One is that we need to figure out what's going to be the right placement of these cameras. Where do they want to have visibility? In some cases, people are going to want to have visibility everywhere around their house. In other cases, I'll give you an example. There might be a part of their house where they don't want to have a security camera. Maybe it's a jacuzzi or a small spa, and they don't want cameras there, right? That's just an example. Or maybe they do have a pool and they want cameras there. So that part of the design process is really important. So one is like, where is it important to have viewability? The second is, what type of camera is going to fit that viewing? There's several different kinds. There are turret cameras. There are PTZ cameras, which are cameras that actually you can mechanically, through an app, move left and right. There are dome cameras, and there's different colors of those cameras. Some of them will blend into the house and match the exterior aesthetic of the house. Others, maybe the client doesn't want them to match. They want people to know that there's a camera out there as a deterrent. So there's a few different things to really think about there, but it's placement, what type of camera, and then as part of this process with the architectural plans, we need to pre-wire for the cameras when they get in. So each of these locations, depending upon what type of camera that we scope for the project, we might need to run a networking cable to it. It's probably going to be a power over Ethernet, which is a PoE device nowadays. That's what's run. Or in some cases, people will select a camera that actually plugs into an outlet or runs on what normally is like higher voltage. So there are a variety of different ways. And through this process of really sitting with the client, we get to understand what is going to be the right product for them. And if it's not done early in the process, once the walls are up, it's very, very difficult to get these technology capabilities in place. The other thing I want to point out here is you can see that there's little speaker symbols. So this is all about that process of saying, okay, where is sound going to be important to that client? And that's where you kind of see, okay, within the master suite, we'll use that as an example. You can see that there's a left and a right speaker within this particular design. And there's a television location that is opposite of the bed for viewing capability. So that's a great example of how to essentially take a master bedroom, have that conversation with the client, and be able to make sure that the infrastructure is going to be in place on the plans for the architect, the interior designer, the client, everybody to be a builder, everybody to be on the same page that this is what's happening within technology of this space. So in addition to this, lighting is put on architectural plans, networking, access points, where those are going to be in different areas are put on plans. So essentially, almost all the systems that we showed earlier have a symbol that go on architectural plans so that all trade professionals and the clients can be on the same page on what the technology design is for the particular room. Here's a good example of a line drawing for a bathroom vanity. And in this particular case, They wanted a television within the mirror, which you can see here. And then on the other side of it, you can see that there are two areas where they're going to be in-wall speakers to support sound, likely for that television. Speakers can be visible, and they can also be invisible. So they can be located actually behind the drywall, where you don't even know that there's a speaker there. Sound is just coming out of the wall. So those are some of the conversations you have with clients when you're building a space like this. And this is how it's represented in the plan so that everybody is on the same page for that particular thing. Now, this is an eye chart, but I think it's a really great way to visually represent why it's so important within today's world to really have a great network design. We find that really great network design within a new build project will be anywhere from 15 to 20% of their technology design budget. And the reason is that the world revolves around the internet, right? Nowadays, and everything is internet connected. So whether it be your sound, whether it be your office where you need to work and you've got Zoom calls, whether it be the television where you want to be able to stream things without any interruption or lag, or whether or not it's keeping teenagers in your house happy about the internet connectivity. I've not met many teenagers that don't complain about networks, by the way. This is how you get there. And a system integrator, what we do, and the CEDIA integrators that are out there, we are trained on how to build rock solid networks that are going to support the entire property with continuous connectivity. Now, do we lose internet as a society every once in a while? Absolutely. Internet service providers are the pipeline into the homes, right? So if they lose connectivity, the house will lose connectivity. What's important within that as part of this design is making sure some of the really key systems are still going to be up and running, like lighting. There might be smart power as part of the project. Maybe there's solar and power batteries that are located in the house that provide a contingency plan should the power go out. So there's all sorts of things to think about beyond kind of entertainment and AV and connectivity. And we do that really through building the network plan and identifying what's going to be connected to the network, making sure that the equipment is powerful enough to support what the client needs. So some clients have very simple networking needs. Others have more advanced needs, and that's what an integrator does, is we design around this. And the last part of this really is the how. And like when you're working with integrator companies, there are a variety of different roles depending upon the company. And some smaller companies, this person carries a few different roles, and others that are larger, there might be an individual person for each one of these. But sales managers are typically the people having that needs assessment conversation along with the system designer. That is the team of people that are really understanding within the context of that particular project, what is going to be the scope of work, what is going to be the products that support that scope of work. So sales and system designers do that. CAD technician, really that's the person that's essentially marking up the plans based on that design work. And what you find oftentimes is that the sales manager, the system designer, and the CAD technician can be the same person, because nowadays you can mark up plans right in an iPad or some other device right with the client. So oftentimes, it depends on the size of the project. Oftentimes you don't need a separate kind of CPU to have a CAD markup an architectural plan. Project manager. So once that project is locked and loaded and ready to go, the project manager is the person that's going to make sure that the implementation of that technology is as it should be, and that really within the context of the electrician, the plumber, the builder, all the other trades that are painter, all the other trades in the house, that the integrator is there at the right time. All the other parties are communicated with, the client is communicated with, the project has a schedule, If there are change orders, those are reflected and documented and communicated. So the project manager really is key to the actual implementation of the technology design. Installation technician, network technician, programmer, those three people are really going to be the people that are doing the actual work on property, and essentially carrying out that finish work as the house starts to wrap up. There's typically 3 different phases within a new build project. There's that design area where you're understanding and scoping the project. And there's a pre-wire that happens as part of that. So once you identify what the products are and where they're going to go, then the pre-wire happens so that all of the cables and infrastructure is where it needs to be while the walls are open. And then we have a trim out phase, which typically is in the middle of the project, where plates and different materials are start to be finished a little bit, but the house isn't ready for really final. And then lastly, and typically integrators are the last trade in. And one of the reasons is that there's a lot of dust that happens on a construction site, which many of you probably know, and dust and electronics don't marry well together. So we like to be the last trade in if we can, for the most part. And some integrator firms will build, if there's a rack and a rack closet or a space in the house, some of them will build it at their showroom or their office and bring it fully loaded. Others will build on site. It's kind of the preference of the company. But when that house is ready, painting is done, there's no more dust, then that final work that happens with installing speakers, the televisions, the control system, the network, all of that starts to come together. And it's typically very close to the time when the client is going to move in. And then the programmer portion at the end, that typically is also in conjunction with the sales manager and the system designer, the person that's going to really help the client understand how to use their system. And the maintenance and support manager is going to support them, because these systems do need to be maintained, much like electrical systems and plumbing systems. Typically you might have an annual service call or a tune-up with your system. You might want to make changes to the programming. So that maintenance support manager, once the project is done, really the relationship with the client has just started. Because technology within the home really is quite a long relationship, because technology moves fast. You might need to upgrade your network in 10 years or whatever the case may be. So the maintenance support is really key and critical. We've talked throughout the course today about when, and it's early. So as early as you can. You cannot be too early unless you don't have any idea of what you're going to create. And even then, I'd say you should meet with an integrated, kind of understand what's possible, because it's just so broad. Here's some great questions to ask integrators, whether or not you're a trade professional or a client. Ask for examples of their work. In some cases, integrators even will be able to provide you a tour with one of their existing clients so that you can see it. Many integrators have showrooms, and showrooms are phenomenal places to be able to learn, touch, experience the thing before you buy it, so that you can really understand what's going to be most important. Ask for testimonials or references, just like for other trade professionals. Ask about the discovery process. Are they asking questions? What sort of questions are they asking? Ask for examples of documentation. So being able to see a scope of work is great. It'll show you a lot around really how much thinking and design work is happening within that process. Ask for some budget examples. So we like to say, like, you could have a smart home for as little as $1,000 and as much as, $500,000. There is such a wide breadth of product out there in different systems, and an integrator and a technology designer should understand how much generally a range is an investment for the person for their particular property that they're building. And it's always important to start. So ask for some budget examples of what it looks like at 10,000, at 50,000, at 100,000. What are you getting as part of that? Ask about support and maintenance process, as I mentioned earlier. Once the system is installed and the person's moved in, it's just the beginning of the relationship. So that'll tell you a lot around how that particular company manages their business. Most integrators do have a really strong support and maintenance process. And ask them what differentiates them from other integrators on the market. Different integrators carry different products, different lines. They have different philosophies around how they work. In general, if they're a CEDIA integrator, they set, they have a baseline across the globe of like, this is the design process, the installation process. You may even find a number of integrators have CEDIA certifications, which are great, which is kind of means they've been tested for a number of industry standards. So very good thing to kind of look at. So this is our last couple slides here. To recap, so we've covered the different types of system technology that integrators work with. We've defined what it means and how it can benefit to the owner, how to identify the process for specifying and the technology within a process and working through architectural plans to do that. And really, what are the questions to ask? How do you find a reputable technology integrator? Certainly cedia.org is great. A lot of reviews on the internet. If you look at Google, looking at portfolios, things like that will kind of, and interviewing as well. Those things are really going to help you make the right decision so you get matched up with the right integrator, just like you might interview a few different interior designers or architects to really understand who's going to fit your kind of style. Same thing with technology designers. I'll just kind of close out a little bit about our company, and we'll wrap up. Level Up for us, we create smart homes and intelligent buildings. We're founded in 2016. I'm the founder of it. Our vision is to be the best and most knowledgeable technology automation company in the world. And our mission is not to sell stuff, but it's really to be trusted advisors to consumers and business partners in the ever-changing market. So all of this is moving very, very fast. There's data out there that says that smart homes in the next 10 years is going to double again. So we really are very early on in this market, and there's a lot of different products out there. So our mission really is to be agnostic in terms of brands in many ways, and really listen to the client, listen to the build trade professional, try to understand what's important to them, and then match the right solution around it. And we feel like by being trusted advisors, people, if we're right for them, they'll hire us. And we work in lighting, smart energy and climate, entertainment, control, and interface options are in wall, tabletop, mobile, remotes, and voice. And we operate in all these different markets. So I think that is, one more slide. We have retail experience centers actually in 5 different markets: Connecticut, Florida, Massachusetts, Ohio, and Lafayette, Louisiana. Recently is pretty much open. So if you're around one of those areas and want to stop by or schedule in a private appointment with us, we'd love to show you what we have. All right, well, that's kind of it for today. I think we're pretty much on time. If you are in the trades and are earning a CEU, I'll reach out to you for your information, so we make sure you get your credits. I hope that the information here was helpful, or at least provided a baseline for what's important with technology and how you balance it with design, and demystify the process of how to work with a technology systems integrator and what our role is as part of that design process. So, oh, somebody said awesome job. Oh, somebody had to jump off early. That's great. It is recorded. So we'll send out the recording for everybody later. If you guys have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out. And thank you again for joining. Have a great day.